Do you think Steve Smith and Jerry Jeudy could ever become friends?
No.
Eh, come on.
I mean, maybe they can make up, but I think that's an irreparable relationship.
You think so, huh?
I think it's irreparable.
Well, we'll get into that. Just your opinion, man. Just your pregame show, man, for Week 6. Derek Papa, Stephen Langford. We're gonna change things up a little bit with our pick segment because I don't know. Maybe the Ernie's like it. Maybe AJ Cruz likes it. Maybe whoever else is in the chat likes the way we're doing things. But maybe it runs a little too long for people that have been listening to the podcast or watching the stream. So we're gonna shorten things down and get you the meat and potatoes of what we're picking. But Steven, real quick, last night, did you happen to watch any of Stanford in Colorado?
I
May
did
not
not.
have been. Okay, so you didn't watch.
No.
Okay. Not a great game when you go into it because Stanford, let's be honest, having a terrible season, 1-4. Colorado, talk of college football, but not so much lately because of the losses. Deion Sanders put his team on notice after their squeak of a win past ASU. And then, last night, I watched the fourth quarter. The Colorado Buffaloes were up 20-0, up 29-0, and then just blew an epic collapse, or just blew the game to have an epic collapse, I should say. Up 29-0, they end up going to overtime, 36-all, and end up losing the game 46-43.
Yeah.
It was wow. I don't know where Colorado. I mean, like Colorado will be fine, but I think Deion Sanders now is kind of telling his kids, his actual kids, and the kids on the team, you guys are kind of feeling yourselves a little bit too much. Do you love football or do you just like it? And I thought it was a really good post-game press conference where he kind of put his team on blast and said, "Hey, we're not the hype of college football anymore. We actually got to start playing like an actual team instead of just, oh, we're out here kind of like, kind of feeding into what Dan Lanning said with Oregon a couple weeks ago. We're just playing for clicks. Now we actually got to back up our talk."
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame the kids for that, though. I don't blame the students for that. Like, you turn things around, then all of a sudden you got celebrities showing up at your games, and you think you're turning into the University of Miami. Like, that's basically what they thought they were. The late 80s or early 90s, 2000s. I mean, the early 2000s team was probably the best one they ever assembled with the U. But, like, I get it. I get it from their perspective. Maybe they needed to have some sort of wake-up call here. But, yeah, when I woke up and saw that score, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then I do like the way that Deion put it. It's speaking like you're a junior high relationship. Well, do you like me, or do you just like me? Do you like me as a friend, or do you like me?
The old Hey Arnold way of talking.
Yeah. These Buffalo kids, man, they need to start liking the football instead of liking it as a friend.
No, not even like. They got to love this shit. And I think they do. But, I think you said it perfectly, Steven. They are kind of feeling themselves a little bit. They're hyped up. And
I don't totally blame them for that. Like, I absolutely would.
No, because I think we're putting a lot of pressure on this team and a lot of eyeballs on it just because of Deion. And you have to remember that a lot of these kids are coming from, Division II. They're learning a lot. So I think it's unfair that they upset TCU and they beat Nebraska, and since then they've looked like an average team. So they need to pick things up. But yeah, like I think people are going to grill Deion and Colorado this week. Well, the reality is they're right where they're expected to be. They still have a lot to learn, and they're going to be a great team going forward. They're going to recruit. Deion's going to be up there as one of the faces of college football. More great players will join that team, but they need to figure things out, and that's okay.
His impact is much bigger than football, but also losing to a 1-4 team in double overtime and blowing a 29-point lead is not the best way to go about things.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Thursday night game. Kind of, you didn't even watch. You watched baseball playoffs, right?
Thursday night. Yeah, I watched like the first quarter of the Thursday night. Until baseball started. Yeah, I had the game on, but I don't know. Broncos suck.
They do. And I know, so you've been throwing that word a lot more, feeling comfortable in your Dante Whitner way.
Yeah, Rodney Harrison made me a little more comfortable doing it. I'm okay. I felt bad for him when he got ridiculed for calling Zach Wilson garbage. So I'm okay with saying that a team sucks. Broncos suck.
Okay. All right. We'll get to that in a little bit here. But yeah, Thursday night game was not great. Even the Chiefs kind of like remind me of a couple of years ago when they were second seed, I think, in the AFC playoffs to the Titans. There was a couple weeks there where they were figuring things out offensively and defensively. They were playing great. They'll be fine, but they're just not lining anybody up. They're kind of playing down to their competition a little bit. Won the game. Harrison Butker, great field goals, 160-yarder. Sean Payton inexplicably calls a timeout right before halftime to set it up. He even said that was a bonehead decision. Um, Russell Wilson, I think, threw for under 100 yards in the game. Jeudy had his little thing with Steve Smith that we'll get to in a little bit here, but I don't blame you for watching baseball. That was kind of a rough Thursday night showing.
Yeah, and like, why would Sean Payton come back if it's the Broncos that he has to coach? He does not seem to be enjoying himself. Like, why did he come back? He had a cushy
Well, you know
analyst
why.
job. He had a cushy analyst job. He was, able to critique people and do things without really much, without being reprimanded for it. But you start off your tenure by saying that Nathaniel Hackett pulled off the worst coaching job in history, and then you go out and score 8 points against the Chiefs, whose defense is fine, but it's not that good where you should be putting up 8 points.
I disagree with that one.
Should have put up a little more than that.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs defense is actually pretty good. But you know why he came back, because he wanted to get paid. I think initially he wanted to go coach the Chargers. He was down in LA with the Fox gig. He wanted to stay there. He wanted to coach that quarterback, and I have no doubts. I know the way the Broncos have looked right now, but honestly, I have no doubts the Chargers would be a better team with Sean Payton today than Brandon Staley. And I know that we're judging Sean Payton on what's going on with the Broncos. I don't think he wants to be there. I think it's just because the money was good and he took it. And I don't see Russell Wilson being there past this season. I don't see a lot of players being past the trade deadline. I think that they're going to do a massive overhaul, and Sean Payton wouldn't have taken this job if he got in full authority to just rebuild the team if it's not to his liking. So I think he chose the wrong team, and I think that the team that he wanted to go to wasn't interested in him. And all these people that are saying, well, let's see if the Chargers go after Bill Belichick in the offseason. That's not happening either. So uh, I think Sean Payton is a good coach. I think he's just on a bad team.
I don't think so. I think he's overrated. And I think this is validating that.
Okay, why do you say he's overrated?
Because he's only won one Super Bowl, and that was in 2009. And since then, the Saints didn't do much in the playoffs. They had a Hall of Fame quarterback. It's just,
okay,
I don't understand the hype.
Hold on. What great coaches haven't had a Hall of Fame quarterback? This is the argument that like Shannon Sharp has on Brock Purdy, or a bunch of idiots this week that are saying, well, Brock Purdy has a bunch of guys. Every quarterback has a bunch of guys. I don't get this argument. Every coach needs a Hall of Fame quarterback. You're not going to tell me that Bill Belichick sucks as a head coach now because he doesn't have Tom Brady.
But he didn't win. He didn't win. He didn't win anything with his quarterback. He won one Super Bowl. One. That was one. That's it.
So you're not going. So is Aaron Rodgers a great quarterback?
He had a Hall of Fame quarterback for his entire tenure, for the entire time.
Is Aaron Rodgers a Hall of Fame quarterback?
Yes. And Mike McCarthy's not that great of a coach.
But he's only had one Super Bowl win. So you blaming Aaron Rodgers? Is he that good of a quarterback?
No, there's a lot of other things that go into that. But I just think Sean Payton's a little overrated than you're making him out to be.
I do not deny that he's come across super arrogant. I do not.
I'm saying that we had him pegged as this guy who's going to completely turn things around, and I think we overrated him in that aspect. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. Doesn't mean that I'm saying he's an average coach. I'm just saying I think he's a little bit much than we build a little bit more. We put him on a pedestal compared to a lot of guys. Oh, Sean Payton's coming back into the league. Watch out for the Broncos. Dude, people had him as a 10-win team this year. A 10-win team because Sean Payton was going to be there as a coach. And look what's happening right now.
Yeah, but I would I think a lot of it has to do with the players he has, and I think it's a bad mix with Russell Wilson. Of course we're going to hype up Sean Payton because he's won a Super Bowl and he has a ton of wins. And there's a lot of factors in why the Saints didn't win. They lost terrible playoff games. Not that they didn't play bad, but like that game against the Niners where Vernon Davis caught the touchdown with seconds to go. The Minnesota Miracle with Stephon Diggs. The unfair non-call in the NFC Championship game with Nicole Roby-Coleman. I hear what you're saying, Stephen. I think a lot of people are just caught up in the moment. I do think Sean Payton's a good coach. I think he's just on a bad team, and he needs to rework that. I think he's going in with his arrogance, thinking, well, I can just, I'm Sean Payton. I could just play call my way to this being a 10-win team, and that's not the reality. So he's realizing that now that maybe I'm not as good as a coach as I used to be. I still think that he is a good coach, but he needs to change his thought process.
Well, he hasn't done anything with the Broncos, and
yeah, of course.
And they're looking like the worst team in the AFC West.
No doubt, but I think we knew this going into the season. This is a weird marriage.
But people still have what I'm trying to say is people overrated him. That's all I'm trying to say here is that everyone had him pegged as competing in the AFC West. Some had him as second in the AFC West because Peyton's
that's stupid. That's stupid.
Just saying.
Yeah, I know, but that's also people's dumb expectations.
And people are rating him that way. Overrated. That's the definition of it.
I hear you. So, okay, do you think that let's say that Sean Payton is like, I'm out of here. I don't want to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to give me any money. If he goes next season and the Chargers are like, all right, let's do this finally, do you think they're a better team?
Depends if Austin Eckler's healthy. If Austin Eckler's not healthy, then no.
It's that simple?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's say Austin Eckler's not on the team because it sounds like they're not going to pay him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anymore.
I think so.
I don't know anymore because the Broncos actually have some talent. They have Javonte. They have Javonte Williams as a running back. Their backup Jaleel McLaughlin's not bad. Their offensive line, sucks. But their wide receiver core, just as good as any in football, supposedly, with Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick before Patrick got hurt.
Yeah, but supposedly.
Right.
It's not like the Raiders when they had Darren Waller and all these guys, Hunter Renfrow, and they actually went to the playoffs. This Bronco team hasn't done shit. And we say all the potential in the world of Jerry Jeudy, but I haven't seen it yet. So I would say, I hear you. I just think that we're caught up in the moment because his team looks like dog shit with the Broncos. And I think that it's an arrogance thing when some head coaches come back from, a layover in the media, like what happened with Gruden, and they think that they could just, I'm here now, so things will get back to, the way it used to be when I was coaching 10, 15 years ago or even a year ago with the Saints. I think he's too arrogant, but I still think he could be a good head coach.
But it's also more than just like play calling on the field and decision making. It's not that. He clearly has not brought this team together.
And that's the arrogance. I think that he just comes in and lays the hammer down and says, I'm Sean Payton. This is what we're going to do now. Russell Wilson, you're not a politician. But I think that falls on deaf ears when a lot of these guys are like, oh, yeah, Sean Payton. I remember him. But, you got to prove a little bit. So I think the arrogance is killing him right now. I think some guys are like, Sean Payton, God, he lost a lot of weight. I remember him in that movie. Looks totally different. Anyway, let's get to Thursday night game. Not great. Not gonna spend a lot of time on that.
It took the over.
Yeah, I know. I usually stay away from the over on Thursday night games. Okay. So before that game, Steve Smith, Jerry Jeudy, get into it. If you haven't seen it, you have the clip, Steven?
I absolutely do. Hang on. This is worth it for everybody. It's a minute and a half. Let me get it. All right.
Mike Garafolo, Steve Smith.
Oh, sorry. Set it up.
Okay. Yeah, just Mike Garafolo, Steve Smith, before the Broncos-Chiefs game. They kind of self-explanatory.
And Steve called out to him. He got a different reaction.
I called out to him because on my podcast, Cut to It, I just talked about guys that maybe have not showed up in a way or in a manner. And so the word that I've used to describe him in the past was a jag, just a guy.
Just a guy.
And so when I saw him, he's playing well. I wanted to say to him face to face, like, hey, I know I said some things in the past I probably shouldn't have. and I'm sorry. That's what I wanted to say to him. His response, Mike Robb and Bucky, was ninja.
Ninja.
Yes, I'm using the word ninja. I'm just using the word ninja. I don't mess with you. And it was a curse word. And so I was like, all right. And then he repeated it. So I'll say it again. I'm sorry that I said you were a jag, just a guy who's an average wide receiver that used a first round pick on that isn't doing anything. I hope today that you actually show up in a way that you haven't showed up in the last couple of years since they drafted you. So if you ever got a problem with Agent 89, I'm sorry for saying that you're an average wide receiver that they eventually will move on. And when teams call me and asking, should they trade for you? I will say no, don't trade for Jerry Jeudy because he's mentally unable to handle constructive criticism from people who watch specifically, can he be a wide receiver? He could be a wide receiver. He's a tier 3. Go back into the studio. I'm done now. Thank you.
Now, one of the best responses I heard after that video came out was, damn, that's going to light a fire under Jerry Jeudy for 3 catches and 26 yards tonight.
Yeah, yeah. Which, I mean, what was it? He had like 1 reception for 9 yards or something.
See, that's
in the
what I'm
first
saying.
half.
That's what I'm saying is that we think these guys have a ton of talent, but I don't think it's really there. And maybe it's not the right fit with Sean Payton, but that's besides the point. The point we're trying to make here is when you see a couple weeks ago, Rodney Harrison on the post-game show with Chris Jones call Zach Wilson garbage, when you see our even own Dante Whitner say Dak Prescott sucks, this stuff's entertaining. Don't get me wrong. That was fun to see. But are we getting to the point now where some former athletes are being a little too disrespectful with current players, or do you think current players are just a little too soft with the criticism?
I think the first 2 that you mentioned with Rodney and Dante were a little disrespectful because, well, with Rodney Harrison's, he just wasn't saying Zach Wilson was garbage. Rodney Harrison was saying or interviewing Chris Jones and trying to like bait Chris Jones into saying that Zach Wilson was garbage. Whitner just straight up said Dak Prescott sucks. This one, like, he didn't. Steve Smith was eloquent with the way that he described it. Like even the
ninja,
even his closing segment, like his closing statement with the 30 seconds of that.
Yeah.
He was still respectful in a way. He just did it. Unlike Rodney Harrison and Dante Whitner. Do I think that these former players are too harsh? Sometimes, but I think the way Steve Smith did it, I think that was warranted. And I think ultimately that made for compelling television as opposed to, Rodney and Dante, which, no disrespect to them, but I mean, and not even with Steve Smith either. I'm not going to be watching those pre and post game shows. Like those aren't appointment television for me. So I guess they need to find some sort of way to generate interest. But I also think that these receivers, they need to have a little more respect for who's approaching them. Like we've heard it with inside the NBA, right? With Barkley and Shaq, and they have been very, very critical, but those players take it in stride. Like I think the way Joel Embiid once took criticism from Shaq, I think he just took it and basically said, yeah, I remember you talking about me, so I worked on it to improve my game, and I did this and that. And then Shaq's like, I respect that. It was complete opposite with Jeudy and Smith. Like that, Jeudy basically said, nah, go away.
We kind of said that. No, I remember Donovan Mitchell. It was Shaq saying to Donovan Mitchell, I want you to hear from me. I originally said, I don't think you're a great player. And I may be wrong about that, but I don't want you to hear that, from somebody else. I'm saying you directly. And he goes, well, Shaq, I hear you, but I've heard that my whole life. So you're not any different than anybody else that has said that to me. He goes, no, okay, I hear you. I respect that. What I'll say with all 3 instances, Rodney Harrison was trying to get Chris Jones to get a quote. And while it wasn't the worst thing in the world, it was a little unprofessional. And I'll say this too. I love Dante Whitner. He comes on every week with us, but I thought he was a little out of bounds as well. And then I don't know what Dante was doing afterwards. Then he started to videotape himself with a shirt off and saying, I'm not an old head, come at me. I'm like, Dante, you're great at what you do. Just stand by what you said and it's all good. Steve Smith, I respect him that he keeps it real on television more so than anybody else I think I can think of. Like to the point where he'll say he'll beat someone's ass if they're like I've seen instances before pregame shows where receivers are a little too close to him, catching balls, and he's like, "You guys need to get the fuck away." He's real like that. Um, I go back and forth with this one because I do respect that he went up to Jeudy and was going to compliment him, and Jeudy was like, "No, I don't mess with you," and he was like, "All right, well, let me go back and talk some shit about him." I don't know if that needed to be said. It could have been just kept internal. It doesn't need to be something that you put out there for the world. Now he did come back out later and say, "I'm not gonna get caught up in this. I'm a grown ass man. I'm not gonna put hands on another human being like this. We both got to do our job. He's got to play a game. I got to go to London tomorrow, so we're gonna move on from this." But I do wonder why it needed to be said. Like I understand, like you're trying to get a lively pregame show going on for television, but if you don't want this to be a thing, then why did you say it? It could have been just something between you and Jerry Jeudy. It didn't need to be something that we all know about.
Did he not want this to be a thing?
He came back later and said, "Hey, like I'm not trying to make this a whole beef between me and Jerry Jeudy. I'm a grown ass man. I'm not trying to kick someone's ass on television. Like this is, we both got to do our jobs." He said what he said. I said what I said. We're going to move on.
Yeah, I don't care about any of that. It's entertaining. It's entertaining. I don't care whether it should have been kept internally or not. I like to hear that. I thought it was just very emotional, raw. It's just something you don't get on those TV shows anymore. All of them, it's like, I don't know. That's why I don't really like them too much, is because they're all just so fabricated and scripted and just, hey, I'm going to say this and say that without actually giving a real opinion. So I respect it. And if you're Jerry Jeudy, you got to know who you're talking to. Like, come on, this is Steve Smith. You're speaking to it's partially why players don't really trust the media, but I was entertained by it thoroughly when I watched it.
Of course. So was I. We played it on our show, but I don't know. I understand like the retort back to all three of these instances this week or the last 2 weeks with Rodney Harrison, Dante Whitner, and Steve Smith is everyone says, well, that's stuff that everybody else has said, stuff that people say during the week, people that watch football say amongst their friends. What's the big deal? The big deal to me is that, I don't know, like the same thing with Sean Payton calling out Nathaniel Hackett. There is some kind of camaraderie like amongst the fraternity of NFL players, past and present, coaches too. They're just, to me, I understand it was entertaining, but I don't know, like I just think there's a point where you go past professionalism and you just kind of stoop down to something that you just want to get clicks out of. And I don't know, I didn't think it need like I said, I don't think it needed to be said from Steve Smith. I think Rodney Harrison needed to say that. I don't think Dante Whitner needed to say that. You can all say that shit in private, but when you do it on a national stage, and I understand Dante's like, I'm not making fun of the man himself. I'm saying with the way he plays. I get that. But also, kind of like Dion, where he props everybody up and is trying to motivate everybody. Like, do we really need former players kind of shitting on the current guys like that?
Well, then they need to make new hires because Rodney Harrison, Steve Smith, and Dante Whitner, we all know what they were known for in their playing days. That never goes away. Like, then they need to just hire somebody different if they don't want anyone to do that. I personally enjoy it. I also think I think with Smith, it was real personal. With Whitner's, I think it's unfair to just say Dak sucks. I don't think he sucks necessarily. I think that 49ers defense is damn good. And I think that Dak's actually an okay quarterback. I don't think he objectively sucks. Like what Dante said, I don't think that was too much. That was too fair. Then Harrison was certainly a case where he was just going for clicks. Like that's all it was. It was nothing else.
Now, between the three instances, I kind of give a pass to Steve Smith because yes, while I question if that should have even been brought up, he handled it the best way out of all three guys, I would say.
JAG, a Jag,
just a guy.
What a disrespect to that show that was always rerun on TBS
dude,
a while back.
That's one of the first things I thought of. Everybody was like, Jag, God, and you associate that with a actual team in the NFL. And then I said, Yeah, or like, a CBS show from the early 2000s. Everybody's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "No one remembers Jag?"
I never watched it. It was always just on like the channel
I
guide.
know. Well, no, like you would watch like, NFL Sunday, and then it'd be like, coming up tomorrow, we got King of Queens and Jag.
So wow, disrespect to that show, because that was not just an average show. It was a good show.
You just said you never watched it. It was just another show. It was
Jazz.
Jazz.
Mhm.
Something like I was thinking about that, and also like the same thing with like Dan Orlovsky this week. Like he said what he said about Brock Purdy, and then not necessarily Brock Purdy, but Mac Jones. And then George Kittle called him out on Murph and Mac and said, like, you got to watch the tape. Then Dan Orlovsky actually came on with Papa Lund and said, that kind of hurts me. Like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful towards Brock Purdy. I'm just saying that if Mac Jones was in a better offensive scheme, that he would play better. Is he Brock Purdy? No, I'm not saying that. And I respect that, and I understand what he's saying. Also, I give credit to this. I was thinking about this last night while I was watching Stanford and Colorado. Dan Orlovsky, Louis Riddick, Robert Griffin, they are put in the studio all week on NFL Live or all these ESPN shows, and they are worked. And then they got to put them on college football on Saturday. So for them to be prepped all week I actually like, I know like a lot of people don't like the ESPN talking heads, and I don't either. But I respect those three guys for having to be on every goddamn show on ESPN, from First Take to NFL Live, to be professional, to not call out players like that, and then to be prepped for a college football game on Saturday. Unrelated, but I was thinking about that last night. I was like, that's really impressive that all those guys could do that.
Well, what about Stephen A?
What is Stephen A doing on weekends?
I mean, he's doing everything. He's always around somewhere.
Okay,
Although
but
he's
Stephen
not
A
doing
calling
much
a
on weekends,
game.
he's not always doing much on weekends, but he's, used to do UFC.
Okay,
Forcing him to do a ton of TV.
okay.
Do
I'll say
everything.
this. I respect Stephen A. Smith for doing his First Take show Monday through Friday, and then having to do the NBA countdown show on the weekend.
Yeah.
And being prepped for that. But also it's different because Stephen A is basically doing his show on that pregame show, while Dan, or as Rex Ryan called him, Dano, come on.
Yeah.
Dan Orlovsky, Robert Griffin, and Louis Riddick are all talking about NFL stuff throughout the week, and then they have to be prepped to know a whole roster of college football by Saturday.
No, there's a lot of work that goes into it. I think NFL Live kind of gets caught in the blanket statement that ESPN sucks. NFL Live's a very good show. I don't know if anyone's really that listening has watched it before, but it's a good show. Like the way that they break it down. What, you don't enjoy it?
It's fine. I don't think it's amazing.
I don't think it's amazing, but I don't really lump that in with ESPN and just like the vicious cycle of Get Up and First Take. I think NFL Live's a little different. I don't even like their NBA show too much either. Like their NBA show's fine, but
yeah, I'll say the NFL Live show is good during the season. Off season, I can't stand it.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch NFL Live during the off season. There's only so much they can talk about. It's like, hey, let's talk about the Cowboys. And there's also
until Aaron Rodgers trade breaks, and then Adam Schefter gives us the here we go. We got a trade. It's coming in live. Hold on, everybody. Jesus.
Hold on.
Swagoo, hold on. Shut up. Yeah, no.
Ernie says Stephen A. and McAfee overexposed because they're getting paid so much. I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. But actually, from what I've seen, McAfee actually does a good job on the College Game Day show in the morning. He's prepped for that too.
College Game Day is good. His regular show though, it doesn't really do anything for me. I mean, what are they doing different? It's just a talk show. Like there's nothing different about it. They don't have any. I don't know. I don't really know what to make of it.
And they could have easily just kept it on YouTube. I feel like it's kind of now we're getting, it's still the same show. They just bleep out when they say fuck, but now we're getting, not that anything's changed, but I don't need to see Aaron Rodgers and Robert Kennedy Jr. having a vaccine debate with Travis Kelce and Dr. Fauci.
It's the only thing Rodgers has going for him that he feels confident enough that he could debate it in. It's like,
but also it's just like, leave Travis alone. You guys are obviously friends. You talked before the Jets and Chiefs game. Why does this need to be a point of contention?
Yeah, but shout out to McAfee.
Yeah. Anyway, in relation to media members or former athletes calling out current players, and I'll say this as well. Not that Dak Prescott or Zach Wilson handled anything bad. They didn't even respond to what Rodney Harrison and Dante Whitner said. But Jerry Jeudy, I will say this also. Some of the new school players are kind of soft, and I think that they need to handle criticism a lot better than what happened back in the day.
Well, think about it. Leading up to his NFL career, Jerry Jeudy was told he was the best at everything.
Yeah.
Even coming out. I mean, I remember that. You remember the draft? You remember that draft in 20?
Do I remember the draft with my dad talking about him every fucking second?
Was it 2021 with Jeudy versus Ruggs?
I need Jerry Jeudy on the Niners, John.
Yeah.
And then it didn't happen.
It was all Jeudy, Ruggs, and then CeeDee Lamb. Those were the three that draft.
And at the time, everybody's like, Brandon Ayuk. Ugh. Brandon Ayuk's looking a hell of a lot better than Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah. He's looking like one of the best out of that draft right now.
Yep. So yeah, I do think some of the current players are a little sensitive about that stuff. But there's also like media etiquette or locker room etiquette. And I can now go to baseball because there was an incident this week with the Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies series where they lost. What was it? Game 2 where Bryce Harper had the miscalculation of running on the bases and whatnot.
Yep.
And then who's the player that called him out in the Braves locker room?
Orlando Arcia.
And apparently after the game, they're in the clubhouse and he says, "Attaboy, Bryce." And a writer for the Braves sees that and writes about it or tweets it, whatever happened.
I don't think it was a writer for the Braves. It was a Fox Sports writer, Cespedes Family Barbecue, half of that blog, baseball blog. And it was one of those guys who wrote about it. And it was in like the 23rd of the 25 paragraphs that he wrote up on that game. So it wasn't like it was like the top headline.
Yeah. Regardless, he lets that quote be out there, and then Bryce Harper uses it to his advantage and motivation. And then in his home run, stares down, what's his name, Arcia?
Yeah.
Arcia.
Who's my guy?
And it turned into a whole point of contention with the Braves where they were like, we don't appreciate quotes like that being out to the public. What's her name on MLB Network the next day calls out who's the writer? I should know all these people's names before I talk about this.
Jake Mintz is the guy that wrote the article.
And do you know the woman opposite Chris Russo?
Alana Rizzo?
Yeah, she calls him a jagoff for letting that quote be out there. She apologized since. She has apologized.
It was a jack-off. She called him a jack-off.
Sorry, not a jag. Not like the great show. A jack-off. And then she apologized the next day, said that her comments were way out of bounds and completely unprofessional.
Yeah, well, I don't buy that apology. She just apologized because of the reaction to it. She wouldn't have apologized if every single media member didn't come striking down after that because they were all on his side. But I guarantee you she would not have apologized if the reaction wasn't the way it was.
She also wants to remain in the Baseball Writers of America Club. She also apologized. Like she said, I apologize to Jake Mintz and I apologize to that group. She doesn't want to be ostracized from baseball writers.
Dodgers.
Here's my thing. I think that this is kind of soft of the Atlanta Braves that they are upset that this quote got out there because media members are in the clubhouse all the time. So if you say something, in my opinion, then don't let it be known to the writers. Say it amongst your teammates in closed quarters that no one could hear this stuff. I know a lot of people are like, well, back in my day when I was playing, we knew that writers were talking to us when they had a pad out. Well, people don't have a pad out anymore. They have iPads or their phones. So anything that you say in the clubhouse with the writers around or media members, that's fair game. And also, if I was an Atlanta Brave player, I'd be like, we said what we said. We stand on it. It's not that big of a deal also either. Attaboy Bryce, is that the most disrespectful thing in the world? I'll say this between baseball players and football players. Football players would just be like, yeah, we said it. We got to back it up now. Baseball players, it's like a whole thing with like the media being like, oh, you took something that was private to us. Okay, you said it though. Is it the end of the world?
You won 104 games. 104 games in the regular season, the best regular season record, and you're complaining about that. How about you do it on the field? How about you guys actually hit some home runs? Nick Castellanos hit more home runs than your entire team combined. How about you actually perform instead of just looking at this one thing, this one little word, this little phrase that might have motivated the Phillies? You know what should motivate you? The fact that you're in the postseason and you need to make it, and you possibly could lose back-to-back years in the postseason against this same exact team. How about you use that as motivation instead of worrying about it? Like that one was so annoying, so frustrating. Like you're just it's nothing that major. Again, it was like in the 23rd or 24th paragraph of a 25 paragraph article, and someone picked it up, put it on Twitter. It wasn't a guy looking for clicks. He was just simply going about his business and writing what he heard. Like, I don't stand on it. Stand on it.
Yep.
Come on, Rays. Come on, Atlanta.
There's also another wrong with like does Michael Parsons the next time the Niners and Cowboys play going to be like, yeah, someone took my quotes out of context that was privately on my podcast. Privately on your podcast? It was out there for the world.
Right.
Now I know a locker room's different, but media members are in there. They just be quiet for a little while if you don't want it to be there, if out there to the world.
Yeah. Just you're a 104 win team. That shouldn't be a reason you lose. So what? You gave Bryce Harper a couple of home runs and a little added fuel to add to his fire that's already there in the postseason. Like, give us a break.
Nick Castellanos, though, those two sound bites were hilarious.
Yeah.
After the Phillies clinched.
Nick Castellanos is he's a different animal, man. He's a different type of dude. Need me to pull it up?
If you don't, well, yeah, sure, why not? Since we're talking about it, Matt Weiner I guess just says a statement about him having back-to-back home runs in the NLCS.
Yeah.
He's like, well, what's the question? No question. Just giving you a compliment. that to me, yeah. Go ahead and play the clip, Steven, and we'll talk about it afterwards.
Nick, nobody in Major League history has hit 2 home runs on back-to-back postseason games, but you just did, and you guys are headed to the NLCS.
Where's the question in that?
There's no question.
So thank you for telling me.
I thought you'd be happy with that.
I am, man, but we got 8 more wins.
Here's a
Okay. It's goofy, but at the same time, I'm like, all right, Nick, like, you don't think it's so defensive. You just won.
I don't think he's getting defensive. I just think that's how he is.
Yeah.
Based on what I've heard and read, whatever quotes that comes from his mouth, he's not there for the BS. He's a pure baseball dude, and I don't think he's there to celebrate the small victories. I think there's still some sting left from not winning the World Series last year. So when you're told something like that, I kind of get it. He's also kind of a meathead. like that's what he is.
Well, I noticed a year ago when he got there and he has that conversation with the player, or the writer was asking him, did you hear the boos? And he was like, no, man, I went deaf during the game. It's a dumbass question. The guy's like, well, if it's a dumbass question, then you should be able to answer it.
Yeah.
So, you remember that year?
Yeah. You can hear when he points.
And then remember the PR guy for the Phillies like, all right, let's relax here. Now that one I'm okay with, because, like, yes, did Matt Weiner ask him a question? No. Now, he could be a little more jovial in that situation, but sure, okay. He didn't ask you a question. Do you have the other one with Greg Amsinger?
No.
Have you seen this one?
No.
Okay.
The only one I saw from Greg Amsinger was him talking about his kids.
No. Greg Amsinger then interviews Nick Castellanos. And I don't watch a lot of MLB Network post-game stuff, but is Greg Amsinger always like kind of cheesy where he's like, hey, Nick Castellanos, when I think of you, man, I think of Philly. Were you born to play in Philly? Were you that type of guy? When you sweat and bleed, do you sweat and bleed cheesesteak? Huh? Is that you, Nick Castellanos?
Yeah, he is that guy.
Okay.
But he's an MLB Network mainstay, though, a legend.
Yeah, he was okay. So I don't watch him enough to have an opinion, but from this little clip, this was too much for me.
Different markets and different teams. I don't know why you in Philadelphia works. It's the best fit. Would you agree with me?
You're asking me?
Yeah, you in Philly is the best fit. Nick Castellanos always needed to play for the Philadelphia Phillies. Am I on to something?
I mean, yeah, I fuck with Philly.
Nick, I enjoy you, man. You are one of the great personalities in the sport. You're an awesome baseball player. Congratulations on your achievements tonight. We really appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
There you have.
Okay. I think that's more like Greg Amsinger because his question's dumb. Like, and also just like that whole like, hey, when I think of Nick, I think Philly. You too. Liberty Bell. Nick Castellanos. That's my guy. Benjamin Franklin, it's you.
If I had to create a Mount Rushmore for Philadelphia, 1, Rocky, 2, Vince Papale, 3, Danny DeVito, and 4, Nick Castellanos. What do you think of that?
And then he's like, yeah, am I onto something here? And Nick's like not even impressed. Like, you talking about me? Yeah. I fuck with Philly. Oh, Nick, you are my guy. Anytime that you want to come over and hang out with me and my kids and my wife, I'll leave you alone with my wife. You could do it.
Geno's or Pat's? I gotta ask you, Nick. Geno's or Pat's? Which Philly cheese?
You and me are gonna be best friends. You and me are gonna be best friends.
You don't choose Geno's or Pat's? That's a real Philadelphian right there. He didn't choose the 2 most popular ones.
All right.
I wanted the Giants to get Castellanos bad when he was a free
I
agent.
know. I remember you going off on that.
God, he's so sick. He's a ball player, man. Like, that's what you want. He's not there to impress the media, you know. He's not there to kind of get corny with it. He's just there to play baseball. Like, that's what he said about college. Like, I forgot what he had some quote. He's basically like, I didn't really study. I played baseball. Like, you know, that's the type of dude he is. But
it's all about ball.
It would not. But reading up on the Giants and the way that they do things, yeah, a relationship between him and Kapler, I don't think that would work very well.
Well, hey, you guys won on Wednesday night.
Huh?
The Giants won on Wednesday night.
You could look at it that way, or you could look at it as the Giants didn't do that against the Dodgers.
Well, with the way Giants fans talk, you act like the Giants might as well won the World Series with the Dodgers losing.
Yeah, that's the listeners to your radio station. That's not all Giants fans.
That's fair. All right. Let's talk a little football here. So we're going to break things up today where we're going to talk about 3 games that we're interested in this. I don't know why I'm doing it this way. 3 games that we're doing.
I'm still laughing about Greg Amsinger. I'm sorry. It's just I didn't really notice how I've never noticed that about him. With
he's
Philadelphia stuff. When I think of Philadelphia,
when I think of Philly, I think of Nick Castellanos.
Anyway, continue. Football. What are we doing?
So we're gonna break down the matchups between 3 games for 3 games that we're interested in this weekend, and then we're gonna give our best 3 bets that we like this weekend, and then I'll go through quickly what you and I have as far as bets this weekend. Still be wins or wings, but we're gonna make it go a little faster.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, let's do a little preview for 3 games, and let's start in Cleveland between the Niners and Browns. We'll also pick this game while we're talking about it. The Browns will be without Deshaun Watson. He's going to miss. There's a whole thing with his rotator cuff, some questions of whether or not he's cleared or whatnot, but he's not going to play. That's the bottom line here. And Dorian Thompson Robinson, they saw enough from last time. They're going to go with P.J. Walker, who played for the Carolina Panthers a year ago. He was in the XFL. Seems like it's going to be a long day for the Browns. But they're also missing, obviously, Nick Chubb. And, yeah, I thought, Steven, if Deshaun Watson was going to play in this game, I honestly would have probably leaned towards a Niner loss. Even though the Niners are the best team of football, hands down. I just think they're due for maybe an upset or a slip-up here or there. And I think this Browns defense is no joke. I like Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith as the 1-2 punch as far as pass rush. They have a good defense going. And I didn't make a lot of I didn't get into the whole narrative this week of Jim Schwartz versus Kyle Shanahan, that whole thing. I think someone put on Twitter, Kyle is 1-8 versus Jim Schwartz. I don't really care. There's a lot of factors that go into that. When both guys are coordinators or head coaches, it doesn't really matter to me. I thought this game was going to be a lot closer. You may see Brock Purdy actually throw his first interception this week. It's the first time the Niners are going to be out of the state of California since week 1. I thought a lot of things were going in the Browns' favor, but now that PJ Walker is getting the start, I think that it's pretty much set in stone. Not set in stone, but it's pretty likely the Niners are going to come away 6-0.
Did you see the stat with Shanahan and Schwartz? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I just said it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
you were too busy talking in the chat there to there it is.
I guess so. I'm trying to save myself here. I'm trying to save my reputation. So you did say, okay, because that one to me, I was like, oof, there's something there. And you know, I wish we would have looked forward when we were talking about the Cowboys. And this is something that I have a hole in my evaluation game, but I'm always so focused on, like, you know, what's about to happen next instead of the future, because this is feels like it's a take that's too late to have. But yeah, Sunday night's game wasn't going to be the 49ers' toughest matchup. This one against the Browns was going to be, at least as far as the offense versus the defense.
Yep.
Myles Garrett is going to pose some problems. And I don't know, I watched I'm going to come off as pompous here. I watched the all 22 of the Niners and Cowboys, and the all 22 on
Why
the
is
NFL.
it pompous?
I don't know. It just feels like it's, I watched the tape, but I don't know what I'm watching necessarily. I don't know all the coverages. I don't know the plays. I just
At least
really
you're
love,
honest.
I do love watching, though, like how a game breaks down in that way. I think watching the all 22 really helps with that. I'm not going to act like I know whether it's a cover 3 buzz because the corners shading in on the receiver as opposed to the safety who's got this quarter of the field. You know what I mean? I'm not doing all that breaking down, but you could make the argument, at least in that first quarter, like the Cowboys had the upper hand in that game against the Niners. They really pulled away in the second, third, and fourth because the defense kind of gave them a little life. But say the defense didn't cause those turnovers, say the Cowboys did hang on to the football, I think that would have been a much different game, at least in the first half, because that's really where the momentum shifted. And Micah Parsons, I'll say this after watching the all 22 there. Micah Parsons, even though he didn't fill up the stat sheet, there's a couple of times where that dude just absolutely crushed the offensive lineman. He put Burford at a spin in a blender with this one move, at least in the first quarter. Didn't do anything the rest of the time. But I say all that to say, this Browns defense with Myles Garrett is a lot better, I think, than the Cowboys defense and what they're going to pose. I think Jim Schwartz has them humming right now. So without Deshaun Watson, not going to be much of a contest. PJ Walker's not going to do anything. That's why I think when we pull up these betting picks, I think you'll find that we have the same exact pick because, yeah, the Niners are probably going to dominate this one in their offense. They might not score 30. That's what I'm going to say confidently about this game. I don't think the Niners are going to score 30. This is going to be the first game where they don't score 30. I'll say that with conviction, but I don't think the Browns are going to do anything on offense. So
yeah, that seems to be the case. Like a couple weeks ago when they were playing the Ravens, and they lost 28-3. I think that the Browns could play really good defense and maybe get to Brock Purdy a couple times, maybe even stifle Christian McCaffrey. But as far as the Browns putting up any points offensively, I think it's going to be really tough. So with that being said, I'm taking the Niners. I'm laying the points, and I'm going under. Nah, just to give you didn't do this ahead of time. Niners are favored by 9.5, and the over/under is 36. Even that 36 seems high to me, so I'm going to go under on that one.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're going to be held under 30 points, and even if the Niners do score 30, I don't picture the Browns scoring more than a couple of field goals.
So you have the same, Steven?
Yeah, because that Niners defense, man, they've reeled a little bit, but when you have Fred Warner just at the helm, making tackles everywhere, him and Greenlaw both.
Yep.
Ooh, yeah, I don't think the Browns are going to do much there. Plus, they're missing Joel Bitonio. Like, Javon Hargrave is going to eat.
Also, they could miss, even though he played last week, David Njoku. Have you seen these photos?
Yeah.
So David Njoku played last week, but he has suffered major burns to his hands and face. If you haven't seen the photos, oof, bad. He had a bonfire incident. I think we talked about this. It's not the same thing as Coop with Kirk Cousins, But he did an interview and talking about how he wanted to show his face. A lot of burn victims are obviously a little self-conscious about the way they look after these incidents. So good on him for being open about the whole situation. They will heal, but yeah, he may not play because of obviously what happened off the field. Terrible.
So he won't play he played last week, but he won't play this week?
I think it's
Or
going
they
to
had
be
a
week.
bye. They had a bye, right?
It was 2 weeks ago
Right. Okay.
when
Yeah,
when
yeah.
when they played the Ravens. I think he barely played. I'm not sure what his stat line was. He's just questionable. I think it's going to be always like that when you have damage done to your hands and face like that.
Yeah. At least he used his platform for good, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's that. But yeah, if they're without Njoku too, what's that offense going to do?
I will say this. One of the best plays a year ago, you remember this, Steven, when the Carolina Panthers were playing the Atlanta Falcons? P.J. Walker threw an amazing pass to D.J. Moore to give them what was supposed to be the go-ahead touchdown by 1 point, but they missed the extra point. Now, D.J. Moore is not on the Cleveland Browns. He has Amari Cooper. P.J. Walker could, and there's a reason why they're benching Dorian Thompson-Robinson. P.J. Walker could make a splash play here or there.
Yeah. Yeah, but the Niners are so good at just taking away those splash plays.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it'll happen. It could, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah. The other game we're going to break down here is the Patriots and Raiders. And a year ago, we all know what happened in this game. Fun game. And then Jacoby Myers, who now is on the Raiders, threw a pass to Chandler Jones by accident. Lateral that got picked off. Chandler Jones obviously not on the Raiders anymore, and blew past Mac Jones, crushed him into the turf, and ran that back for a touchdown with no time remaining. And since that time, Raiders have lost their fair share of games, so have the Patriots. These two teams know each other very well, obviously because of Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick and their relationship. I want to say the Raiders, former Patriots that are on the Raiders currently. You got Jimmy Garoppolo, Brian Hoyer, Brian Bolden, Jacoby Myers. Anybody else I'm missing, Steven?
Jakob Johnson, the
Jakob
fullback.
Johnson. Is that it?
Was Illuminor on the Patriots?
Could be. Not sure. Okay. Well, there you go there.
Yeah.
But and if Chandler Jones was still on the team, that would be another guy. But obviously,
yeah, he was with the Patriots in 2019.
So and then you have Patrick Graham, who was a Patriot defensive coach with Bill Belichick. So a lot of familiarity between these two franchises, and a lot of as of right now, both of these teams don't score, and Patriots are dealing with questions about Mac Jones. Belichick was asked this week, how do you going from a 38-3 loss to a 34-0 loss, what do you do after all that? He goes, got to start over. And then the question back was, well, how do you start over? And Belichick just responded by starting over. So what does that mean? What does starting over mean? And the thing I worry about is we've seen this Patriot offense play better week one. I thought Mac Jones looked great against the Eagles defense. He threw that pick six to Darius Slay, but besides that, he had 3 touchdown passes. Looked like he was going to make a strong progression from a year ago with Matt Patricia being his offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien, but since then he's looked lost. And I don't know, Steven. Like I remember you saying a couple weeks ago, is he the worst starting quarterback in football? I don't know, but he's definitely around that.
It was part of the overreaction segment last week. Yeah.
So I do wonder if the Patriots are capable of just, they're playing the Raiders and starting over again. That's going to light a fire under Bill's ass and the rest of the team's ass, and they just start putting points up against the Raiders. Then there's also the Raiders defense is actually playing pretty well. But then again, are they playing against anemic offenses? And then are they playing another anemic offense in the Patriots? And the Raiders are on a short week. Are they going to start figuring things out offensively? Are they going to give the ball to Devontae Adams more? Are they going to get a running game going with Josh Jacobs? So many questions. I don't have a lot of answers with this matchup. This one's weird.
It's an odd one. I don't think that I think the true where it's lopsided, I think the true matchup where the Raiders can win is the Patriots O-line against the Raiders D-line. Like I actually think Malcolm Kuntz might have gotten himself some more snaps over Tyree Wilson after last week. Like Malcolm Kuntz actually made a couple of plays and was in the backfield. Tyree Wilson isn't there yet. I know you gotta get these guys some reps. But, for right now, as in this early part of the season, even though it's hard to admit it because the Raiders seem to stink, the next couple of games, if you want to stay anywhere in some sort of playoff hunt, towards like the second half of the season, these are two not must win, but they absolutely have to win these games if they want to be taken seriously at all, I think.
What's the difference between a must win and an absolutely must win?
Or need to win, must win and absolutely need to win. There's no difference. I don't know. I'm just trying to use different words.
That's fair.
No, I don't know what to make of this matchup. I think it could turn into like a shootout, and Mac Jones all of a sudden has a coming out party over this Raiders defense in the secondary. I don't know. That could happen too. But I think ultimately it's going to be like last week against the Packers, where the D line is what makes the true difference.
Exactly. I think this is the ultimate form of disrespect. I've heard multiple people, gambling guys, say this week. I think Fortenbaugh and Tom and different guys that like to gamble is, even though the Patriots looked terrible, like the worst team of football the last 2 weeks, offensively they look awful. Even defensively they look terrible. I can't buy the Raiders that much, getting 3 points. I'm not comfortable with that. So multiple people have taken the Patriots just because of Belichick and because they don't believe in the Raiders. And that's fair to me also.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But also, like, if you're the Raiders, you're like, shit, we just won a game, and this team gave up 34 points and then 38 points. They've only scored a combined total of 3 points in 2 weeks. If you're the Raiders, you're like, well, at least we score a little bit more than them. Good Lord.
Yeah, but this could also come down to it being just a straight coaching matchup as far as decision making with
No, that's true.
Belichick and McDaniels, and Belichick has the upper hand there. And if it comes down to it in the second half, when you got to make some sort of decision on like a 2-point conversion or kicking a field goal, which McDaniels has struggled with all year. Well, if Belichick's in a position to do that, he will most likely make the decision, but he hasn't been in a position to do that because his team sucks so much lately.
I think that you love saying teams suck now. I think that the best thing for Josh McDaniels to do is to have a game where he's like back where he was coaching Brady and the Patriots and being the offensive coordinator for Bill. He needs to use the tight ends more than just the opening drive. Throw to Michael Mayer. Throw to Austin Hooper. Run with Josh Jacobs. Don't get bogged down in trying to just do too much. Just simplify it and be a little more creative with your offensive play calling. So, with that reasoning, I'm going to take the Raiders to win. I'm going to lay those points because it's only 3, but you best believe I'm going to have this under.
I'm actually going to take the over. I see it could be a shootout.
Wow.
Yeah.
And who wins, though?
I'll lay the 3. I'll have the Raiders winning. I'll lay the 3.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Last one we'll break down here. Dallas Cowboys at the LA Chargers. And, I didn't even get just so you know, the over-under is 41.5 for the Patriots and Raiders, and the Raiders are favored by 3. So there you go.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Chargers, Cowboys. Before I even get to this game, I'll just mention the over-under is 51, and the Cowboys are favored by 2. So, Cowboys are coming off their humiliating loss to the Niners. And the Chargers, coming off a bye week, they barely have won either of their games. The 2 wins they have and the 2 losses they have. They had a week to prepare with Justin Herbert and his broken finger. How are they going to use him? And, it's a non-throwing hand, but do they feel comfortable with him being healthy like that? Sounds like Austin Eckler's good to go. Still dealing without, Mike Williams being there for the rest of the season. The Cowboys have to, realize that Trevon Diggs is not going to save them anymore. So how are they going to improve their defense after giving up 42 points? To me, this is all about Kellen Moore, trying to prove a point to the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy about how his offense actually works. And if you're the Chargers, I would do the exact same game plan that the Niners had against the Cowboys. Just finding the open areas. There's similar talent from the Niners to the Chargers as far as offense. Even though with Mike Williams not being there, you don't have to go deep every play. You can dink and dunk and find the open spots with Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston and Josh Palmer. They have the talent to do so. They just don't have the, the coaching, honestly. And I think Kellen Moore, with a week to prepare for this game, I'm sure he watched everything from what Kyle Shanahan did and said we could do the exact same thing. So that's the biggest thing I'm looking for. And are the Cowboys going to, respond after being humiliated on national TV to go back to LA on Monday night? I don't even know if they stayed in California this whole week, but are they going to respond from the ass kicking they got?
Are they going to try to take away the big plays is my question, because with the Niners, they just had everything open underneath. Like Stephon Gilmore would have like a 10-yard cushion on him. Then he'd backpedal like 30 yards back. Then Ayuk would just go, poop, and then just like break out of his route and then just go out of bounds. Simple catch. Boom. You get 11 yards out of it. Like, are the Cowboys going to be doing that, or are they going to be playing a little more press man coverage? Or are they going to be, is there going to be a guy sticking? I'm doing the Sunday night thing. Now here's a guy. But I wonder if they're going to do that. And then with the Chargers, I do think that Kellen Moore, that was going to be my main thing. I think Kellen Moore is going to open things up with Eckler now back. I think that's huge for them. Plus, we can't forget that the Chargers are getting Derwin James back too. So that's a pretty big one.
That is. By the way, I was just thinking about this. I want to see a conversation between Chris Collinsworth and Greg Amsinger. Now, here's a guy in Nick Castellanos who doesn't like talking to the media, and I respect that. I disagree, Chris. When I see Nick Castellanos, I see a fucking star. All right, you're getting a little too weird for me, Greg. I don't want to hang out with you anymore.
Yeah. But no, I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. And the Chargers have the Chargers have had that time off, and I think Justin Herbert, even though he had that finger, he looked okay. Like, he looked fine against the Raiders. He still made that 50-yard bomb at the end of the game. Like, he's still capable of doing it. Give him a couple of weeks. And again, I don't think the Cowboys are as good as we've made them out to be. I think that they were a product of their early competition in the first quarter of the season. Derek, we've talked about this leading up to the season. Every year, you don't really know what a team's made of until you're past week 4. That's probably the mark there. And right now, the Cowboys, I think the jury's still out on them. I don't think we know what they're made of yet. We thought we did by week 4 because we knew with everything they did by week 5. I mean, but I think the jury's still out on them, and I think the Chargers can expose them a little bit.
So with that being said, let's pick this game, and it looks like we call Wins or Wangs, revamped edition.
I wasn't ready with the music.
Well, now we are. All right, Steven, like I said, over under 51. Dallas favored by 2. Who you taking?
I'm going to be taking the Chargers to win, and I'll take the over.
I'm going to do the same. I think both of us just kind of think that the Cowboys are reeling a little bit defensively, and Kellen Moore is going to be a big factor. All right, these are the 3 games that we're going to highlight. And one of them, for me, was the Chargers and the upset over the Cowboys, but not big of an upset because it was a 2-point spread there. I like the Chicago Bears to beat the Minnesota Vikings this week. Vikings are favored by 3, and the over-under is 43.5. I'm taking the Chicago Bears to win, and I'm going with the over, mainly because no Justin Jefferson for the Minnesota Vikings. And I know that the Chicago Bears are injury-riddled with their backfield, but they can find one guy. I want to say Deontay Foreman's the only healthy running back for them right now.
Yeah.
No Khalil Herbert went on IR. And honestly, the running game is Justin Fields. I think they had enough time to prepare since the last Thursday night game. I think that the Vikings are going to try to find their identity offensively. And without Justin Jefferson, it's going to be tough. So I'm taking the Bears to win. I like that.
I like it. I agree with you. But as you could see on the chart here, and for any podcast, that's what we're doing now. We got the chart up. We're not just going to pick every
I'll go
game.
through the whole thing. I'll go through the whole thing.
It's a lot.
I can do it quick.
But I do think the Bears are gonna win this one because also the Vikings defense hasn't done them any favors. I know they've lost every game pretty much by 1 score. It's kind of like the opposite of last year for the Vikings. But I think Chicago's going to try and really build off of what they did last week.
All right, and then the other game that I have that's going to be an upset this week, I like the Houston Texans to beat the New Orleans Saints. I think the Saints were very impressive a week ago with their offensive output on the Patriots. But I think there's a little bit of Derek Carr getting a little bit of jitters when he goes to Houston to kind of make up for what happened to his brother. And honestly, I still am not buying the Saints offense. I think that they just had a good showing against the Patriots. I want to see it on a consistent basis if they're going to put points up. And I think the Texans defense is really good. I think it's the strongest unit they have on the team. But I think their offense is coming into their own a little bit. They kind of went back to reality a little bit against the Falcons a week ago. But I think being at home and the way they play defense, I think CJ Stroud is getting comfortable. Maybe he throws a pick this week. Saints defense is good too, but I think Derek Carr is going to struggle. I'm going to take the Texans to win, and I'm going to go under on the 42.5. Saints are favored by 2. Take it, Texans.
Yeah, I'll take them the Saints. And as you can see on the chart, pick an under.
All right. Laying those points, too. And you're going under. All right, Steven, give me your upsets this week.
Well,
Or
not
just
really
your
up. Just my
picks.
3 favorite bets, or at least ones that I think can. I got an upset in there with Seattle. I think Seattle getting Charles Cross back at the offensive line is huge. I think their defense is kind of underrated. I think their secondary is really good, and the only way the Bengals are going to beat you, in my opinion, is by passing the ball. And they're also getting Jamal Adams back on that defense. So I actually think Seattle can upset the Bengals here. Plus, they had a bye week. They're coming off a bye week. They had a week's-long rest. I think Seattle can actually pull off the upset. They're a pretty good team this year. So give me Seattle. And then obviously you took the Bengals, laid the points with them, and you took the over. I also took the over as well on the over under 45. Then with the Lions and Tampa Bay, Lions are favored by 3. The over under is 42.5. I just think the Lions are big boying teams right now. But the reason I'm taking this is because I'm going to take the under. I'm not going to go over. It's against my better judgment with the Lions, but I think the Buccaneers defense has been okay. And the thing that's the struggle with the Bucs is their offensive line. I don't think it's very good. I think Detroit's going to overpower them. So that's why I'm going to take the under, but I'm still going to lay the points with the Lions. Then my last one, again, Titans, box of chocolates team, right? They are 4.5-point underdogs. Baltimore in London, over-unders 42.5. I still have the Ravens winning, but I think Tennessee can cover that number. I think it's going to be a gritty game, and it's just going to be really, really close. So I have Tennessee covering, I have Baltimore winning, and I'll have the under in that one as well because it's in London.
And I got Baltimore winning straight up, and I got them laying the points. Going to go under there. In the Washington-Atlanta game, and when I see on your chart here, both of us, actually, I'm going to go over on the 42.5, and you're going to go under, but we're both taking the Falcons to win, and we're both laying the points. With the game that you talked earlier, yes, I'm taking the Bengals to win, and I'm laying the points going over. I think they find a groove there with their offense. And then I'm going to take the Detroit Lions to win, lay the points, but I think there's going to be too much points to be scored by the Lions, so I'm taking that over. I know the Bucs defense is good, but I just don't see it there. Other games we picked, let's see here. We got Indy against Jacksonville. I took the Jags to win and laying the points going over. You're taking Jacksonville to win, but you're going to have Indy cover.
Yeah.
But you're having an over as well. Right? Okay. Then we got Carolina at the Miami Dolphins. I'm not picking against the Dolphins anymore when it comes to laying the points with them. They're favored by 14. The over-under is 47.5. Taking Miami, laying the points, going over.
Yep.
And you're doing the same thing?
Yep.
All right, then. Easy enough. We did the Seattle game. Arizona at the Rams. Both of us doing the same thing. We're taking the Rams to win, laying the points, but going under. Don't see a lot from the Arizona Cardinals offense. Then we got the Eagles and Jets. Both of us are doing the same thing. We're both taking Philly, laying the points, and going under. Just don't see a lot from the Jets offense, but at the same time, Eagles have a lot of defensive injuries this week. We'll see what happens there. Then we got the Sunday night game, the Giants at Buffalo, and both of us... Oh, nope, you're doing it different.
Yes.
So-
Tyrod Taylor, former team, revenge. They're going to cover. Buffalo wins, but they're going to cover that 15. I'll take the over.
And also, Buffalo's got a lot with the injuries going on right now. Tre'Davious White, Matt Milano, they'll survive this game, but it may bite him in the ass going forward. But yeah, with no Daniel Jones, you might see a little improvement offensively.
I am going for a full-on backdoor cover here. This is one that's going to break
Steven
a lot
loves
of
the
hearts.
backdoor.
This is going to break a lot of hearts for people if they had Buffalo laying the 15.
Oh, you're going over. You're going over. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Should be interesting. And those are our picks.
Those are our picks.
See? Much faster.
Yeah, look at us. Whoop. If I could turn down the music. All right.
Nice.
Thanks.
Back to Jamal Adams real quick. We need to talk about this. Him going after that the guy that checks for concussions.
Yeah.
Jesus. And I understand, like he's in the heat of the moment and he's passionate about coming back for the first time in a year. The guy just doing his job, Jamal. Good. And he apologized, but like he was ready to kick that guy's ass.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, but I also can't imagine being out for so long and then on
Yeah, I
the first
know.
play of the game, you hurt yourself and you don't think you're hurt. And so someone's telling you you're hurt and you can't play and it's some random doctor who you don't know. I can kind of understand where Jamal Adams is coming from.
Yeah. No, I get that too.
And I'm glad that he's okay. I actually did have the thought. I actually thought that was going to happen. I'm not kidding you. I had the thought like Adams is going to come out like a bat out of hell. And he's probably going to go helmet to helmet with someone. I thought it was going to be helmet to helmet, not helmet to knee. So I thought I kind of expected something like that to happen with Adams, but now that they're getting him back, I think he's going to be a little more cautious in this one.
I don't think so. I think the way that he plays, he is like Bob Sanders and Jonathan Abram, where those guys just kind of lay their body out for the sake of the team, like Rodney Harrison. And it may be to the detriment of themselves health-wise. So I hope he learns control, but he's never learned it. Like, it's crazy. But, I mean, hey, he's a team player. He's willing to sacrifice his body for that. So just got to be a little more careful, I guess. Baseball. Dusty Baker versus Bruce Bochy in the ALCS. This is what everybody wanted to see. Giants fans get to watch this while they still look for a manager. Your thoughts, Steven? Astros. Rangers.
I mean, the Astros dominated through the regular season, and even though I have the Rangers winning, I could very well see Houston just keeping that going. I'm just glad we're at a best of 7 now. I don't like best of 5.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Best of 5's weird. It's just not enough. You know, I need more games.
Yeah, I think they should change that with going to the wild card round the way it is. Was a best of 3.
Yeah.
You could extend this series a little bit, or the second round, I should say.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be interesting. Dusty and Boch. It's funny how the old school managers are the ones that are winning in the postseason, as opposed to the guys that. I'm not saying that these guys don't have an approach to analytics, but I think it's also like we'll use it when we want to, and I think a lot of these guys just manage with feel as opposed to a calculator.
I disagree. Bochy's kind of admitted that he uses analytics more than people think. I just think they have very talented teams that that mesh really well and play together. You know, that's what the Phillies have. I'm honestly, I'm starting to question the Braves a little bit. I know they had the regular season's best 104 wins, but if you can't get past the Phillies in the divisional round, like I'm not saying they're the Chicago White Sox, but like who's the leader in the clubhouse? You got a bunch of talent, but do you have a guy, a single player who understands what it takes to win in the postseason? Currently, they don't. Like, I'm sorry, like Matt Olson, he's amazing. Ronald Acuna is about to be MVP, but do those guys know how to win in the postseason? I don't know. Rangers, they have Max Scherzer. Astros, they have Justin Verlander. Did you see that locker room speech by Verlander, by the way?
Fucking 7 years in a row, man.
Yeah, I just like how he's like, I'm so glad that he mentioned that he wasn't there for the season. Like I
wasn't fucking there.
I wasn't fucking here. like it's so good.
Now hold on. Do you think he was saying that like you guys did this without me, or was it like things were kind of weird because I wasn't fucking here?
I think it's worth an acknowledgement that they grinded all year, but he also wasn't a part of them for a lot of I think it was needed because I think there could be some guys who are like, dude, you weren't here.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly,
to say we grinded all year, you weren't here this year. But that's why I think this is a really interesting series, though. I don't know what to make of like a manager matchup. It's great that Bochy and Dusty are there. Their time had run its course in San Francisco. I'm not sitting there going, oh, the Giants should have retained one of these guys and kept them on their team. No, I don't think the Giants had enough talent, even with those two at the helm. I'm really looking forward to that one, though, man. I really don't know who's got the upper hand. Like, I'd love to say that the Rangers do because I picked them to win the World Series. But the Astros are a damn good team.
I would say that unlike the NLCS, the ALCS, I think either team advancing, people would be happy about. I don't think anybody wants to see the Arizona Diamondbacks the World Series. It's a fun story, and they, obviously got rid of the Dodgers to a lot of Giants fans' delight. But I don't think people at this point, as far as TV ratings and the intrigue and the stars, like Greg Amsinger is like, when I see Arizona, there's nobody I want to watch. Now Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, those are guys I want to get beers with.
Dusty Baker and Bruce Bochy both like their hunting, both like their fishing. Quintessential Texas. And we have a Texas matchup in the American League Championship Series.
How about that, guys? How about that?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I'm cool with either the Astros or the Rangers winning. I picked the Astros to win, but I could see the Rangers winning just because it's, you know what? And if we get Scherzer versus Verlander, that's going to be a lot of fun.
I think that as far as ratings and all that, the intrigue, I think everyone right now wants a Phillies and Astros World Series again, just to have back-to-back. But if anyone is still rooting for the Astros, I'd be shocked if any fans actually want to see them in the World Series again, because you go through the replies whenever the Astros do anything. 2017 still brought up. Like,
yeah,
people
I
hate
know,
that team still. It's weird. It's unreasonable. It's irrational, but it's what
I'm
it
over
is.
it. And honestly, even as an A's fan, I don't care. I don't care. And I know a lot of people are like, they cheated. Okay, a lot of people cheat. You just don't know about it. And there's a lot of bullshit going on in baseball all the time, and no one wants to admit to it.
What was the A's All-Star name this year?
He was on my show this week, Brent Rooker.
Oh, okay, damn it. All right.
The only reason I know about that is because him and Copes got into a thing on Twitter, and he came on. That's the only reason I know about that.
Oh, nice. Cope's getting into something on Twitter with someone, huh?
It's not anything new. It's not anything new. Speaking of which, not unrelated. Jackass of the week.
No, what? What? We did talk about the NLCS.
Basically, Phillies.
Yeah.
Phillies, right?
Also, I'll say this too. I am glad that the Braves and Dodgers didn't use the format as a way to explain that's why we lost. Like, I'm glad that there wasn't any, even hint of the Dodgers or Braves saying, yeah, we lost because, well, we had some time off and, we lost all the momentum that we had. It's okay for fans to think that. It's totally fine for anyone. But if the team's actually saying that, I'd have a little bit of a problem with it. So at the very least, I'm glad they didn't say that.
Yeah. I also, MLB, what's going on here? Shouldn't we have these games start today? Both of them? Don't you want to capitalize on not being up against the NFL?
Oh, here you go again.
Okay, but am I wrong though?
You're not wrong, but I don't think they think that way.
Why not? You got to think about TV ratings. What the fuck are you doing?
They have all their TV deals already set in stone. They don't care.
I'm talking about ratings though, as far as okay, no doubt Giants Bills tomorrow is going to outrate Astros Rangers. That's just a fact. Don't you want to capitalize? I mean, college football, it does well, but not as well as the NFL. That rhymed.
No, you're right. You're right. But I don't have any retort to that. I just don't think
there's nothing wrong, Stephen, with just saying sometimes, Derek, you're right.
No, Derek, you're right. You are totally right.
That's all I need to hear. Ooh, baby. All
How
right.
many games of the World Series are you actually going to watch?
Dude, I always watch the World Series. Come on.
All right. Fine.
Just football's on. It's going to be on the second TV. Anyway.
Tom Tolbert was right about you. Say that.
What did you hear him say the other day? There's some fans.
You told me about that, and I'm like, that is absolutely you. Yeah.
That's not true.
It's absolutely true.
I watch everything. Not everything, but I watch a good majority of sports.
Oh my God, we got preseason week 1. Let's break down this game, Steven. Preseason for the Warriors? Nah, whatever. I'll pay
I
attention.
do it for the Ernies. The Ernies want to hear about the preseason football. All right. Yeah. I bet you were watching Warriors-Lakers last night. Go ahead. Tell me all about it.
I didn't.
Exactly. All right. Jackass of the week. You got anybody this week, Steven?
Well, we kind of mentioned it already, and I guess I should have thought about the fact that we'd put her in the conversation, but sorry, it's Alana Rizzo. Like that, those comments just were completely out of line, calling someone a jack off on national TV and doing it under baseball's network when they're trying to, it's like you mentioned, Sunday night, like it's going to be all eyes on football. No one's going to care really about baseball World Series game 1, but And with these NFL players, like we always talk about, like, oh, they shouldn't disparage. We're trying to lift up these guys, whatever. Okay, but NFL is at least in a place where people are still going to watch. Baseball, that's in a place where it's like, oh, if something that minuscule is going to cause this much reaction, then screw that sport. I'm not going to go watch that. That's soft. So I think it was just a bad look for the sport, bad look all around for media members, bad look for her. Sorry, Alana, but or Elena, whatever. Jackass of the week goes to her.
I agree. I agree.
It was like a 2.5 minute rant, 2.5 minute long rant too. And Russo, Mad Dog, he has this funny looking face when he's listening to an answer. Kind of like bites his lip and he looks.
It's rare that Chris Russo doesn't come across looking like the jackass in that situation. He just stood silent while she was going on a rant. He was like, okay, all right, you're talking about what you're talking about. I'm going to rant about how the Broncos and Patriots shouldn't play on Christmas Day. That's my own thing.
What about Havlicek? Would Havlicek do something like that? You hear Bob Cousy complaining that someone else in the locker room said something?
Bob Cousy. My jackass of the week I just ran into. I was at the gym earlier this morning, and some guy is Instagramming himself while he's lifting weights. Put the stand up and everything. The phone out and the walkway. Are people trying to fucking exercise? What are you doing? Put that shit away.
Are you trying to show off that you went to the gym, Derek?
Yes, I am.
Are you trying to flex your way here?
I mean, if you want me to. No. That's not my jackass of the week, but that irked me while I was at the gym this morning. I was just like, come on, what are we doing here?
What if he gets paid? What if he gets paid for it?
I don't think this guy was getting paid to work out. It wasn't the most impressive thing you've ever seen.
You don't know. I mean, what did he have, like a sponsored T-shirt?
No, he was wearing a mask and a hoodie. So no one can tell who he was.
All right, yeah, that guy's the worst. Total jackass.
Total jackass. No, but my real jackass of the week, and he's made multiple entries for me. James Harden.
Oh.
Addressed the Philadelphia media for the first time yesterday, saying that the relationship between him and Daryl Morey cannot be repaired. It's like a marriage. When you can't trust somebody anymore, you don't really go back to them. And he was willing to be a 76er his entire career, and that changed. The reality is, James Harden is mad because the 76ers weren't going to give him a max deal. And now he's mad, and that's some form of them betraying him. The reality is, a lot of teams do this. A lot of teams may say to you, hey, we're going to give you this, and then things change. You think Odell Beckham was going to get a massive contract after that Super Bowl with the Rams? Tore his ACL. Shit happens. You think, what's going to happen with Josh Jacobs and the Raiders? You think they owe it to him to give him a new deal? Things like this happen in sports. So instead of just bitching and complaining, James Harden, maybe you can play well this season and then get a max deal. But instead of having this whole attitude of they lied to me, they promised me something, and now they're not giving it to me, so fuck them. I'm getting tired of it. He at this point in his career is not worth a max deal. That's why he hasn't gotten traded to the Clippers yet. So this whole mentality of woe is me, I didn't get my deal. Get in line. There's a ton of people in sports that didn't get their deal. You're no different.
Yeah, he is. It's just he hasn't made anything better. Like, he hasn't improved on his. He clearly doesn't care what anyone thinks, which I kind of respect. But at the same time, like, dude, you're blaming everyone else except yourself. It's just all a mess.
First game of the Eastern Conference was no, they were in the second round this year. He scores 43 points or whatever it was with Embiid out, and then he was not present on the stat sheet the rest of that series. So why would they pay you? He makes the excuse of they promised me something, then we lost, then things change. Dude, that's what happens all the time in sports. You kidding me?
It's a mess.
Anyway, that's my Jackass of the week.
Love that.
Any pop culture catch up?
Ooh, a little pop culture catch up. Well, highly recommend anyone watch the Beckham documentary if you haven't already. The documentary on David Beckham. I think like there's a couple of things that stood out. One, you want to talk about, fans' reaction to players and us being too hard on these guys. And, these guys are people too. Well, everything that happened before social media to Beckham, he got a red card in 1998, the World Cup against Argentina. It was the round of 16. So 16 teams left to go. Beckham again. Shut up, Ernie. What do you mean Beckham again? LOL. Jerk. No, it's the thing that I've only caught up on though in terms of pop culture. It's I don't know, just the vitriol, the hatred towards him, like everywhere he went, he was like the most hated man in England. And I just forget how much of a global superstar that he was. God, he goes to Real Madrid and he's with the likes of Ronaldo. I'm not talking about Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm talking about the Ronaldo before Ronaldo. Anyone who watched soccer in the 90s knows that. Ronaldo, Roberto Carlos, Luis Figo, and you're talking stars. But then like everyone, when David Beckham came along, it was everyone crowding around him. I forgot how much of an icon he was both on and off the field. And then like, I don't know, you kind of get a little more respect for him because he truly did. Like he was just part of a working class British family where his mom was a hairdresser and I forgot what his dad did, but just lived in a small backyard and became this freaking unbelievable superstar. So I think just awesome. Highly recommend anyone watch it. Really well done too.
All right. What is it on?
Netflix.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I say I'll check it out, but probably won't.
No, you won't. It's fine.
Maybe one of these days. There's so much other stuff I got to get to. I haven't really watched anything recently. I watched Shane Gillis especially the other night. Beautiful Dogs.
Oh, he's so good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Talking about his uncle Danny.
Was that on there?
Sneaking in grilled cheeses.
I don't think it was in that special.
Which one did you watch?
Beautiful Dogs. It may have just come out. It was literally him. Beautiful Dogs. Did I watch the whole thing?
I mean, I think you did.
We may be thinking of two different specials. Are you talking about the one where he goes to the George Washington?
Yeah.
He talks about his uncle?
Yeah.
I don't remember that part.
Sneaking grilled cheeses?
No.
When they go to restaurants?
Don't remember that part at all.
Oh, okay. All
right. I'll say this, though. Have you ever watched the Football Lives documentaries in the past, even?
Yeah.
They've changed them now, where now they're doing profiles on current players. And to me, that's awkward as hell because their story has not been told fully yet. I like learning about history. I like learning about old stuff that I wasn't around for. I've been watching the Football Live since I was in college. I think they're interesting, and you learn about stuff that you weren't around for. But if we just get these profiles on Devontae Adams and current players, it's like, okay, that's fun, but this is stuff we could watch in a pregame show. Their football life is not over yet. So to me, I feel like we're doing a lot of catering to the new generation that doesn't care about the past. And I think NFL Films has changed. It's not the same. The mic'd up stuff is still very entertaining, but as far as teaching kids about the history of football, I think that we have gone away from that, and it's kind of upsetting to me.
Yeah, I know. But I haven't watched any of the problem is they've made it so hard. It's like you got to get this NFL Plus, and then if you want to watch this, you got to get NFL Plus Premium, and then like they're formatted. Yeah. It's not. I don't think it's conducive to the people who you want most to actually learn about this stuff because people just want it to be right there. Like young people, they're not interested in having to jump through hoops in order to watch something. They just want it to be right in front of your face. NFL film is obviously not doing much of that. Yeah, NFL Plus has made it hard. Also, random thing, pop culture, and this is not really a pop culture catch up. This is more of a pop culture. Holy crap! This was the best movie ever. Watched Face Off last night. Oh, so good. Well, yesterday I watched it. Yesterday.
It's like looking in a mirror, only not.
Yeah. When John
Cat-
Travolta turns into Nicolas Cage, it's just amazing.
Casper Troy.
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie, especially the opening where Nicolas Cage is with the choir girl.
Yeah.
And he puts his hands on her ass and he
It's such a random character trait that he has. It's like every butt that he feels, he like just gets a semi, explodes in his pants.
I could eat a peach for hours.
Yeah, like when John Travolta walked by, like his, I think like it was an assistant or maybe it was his wife even.
Oh,
John
yeah.
Travolta, he just walks by and then he goes, ha.
What a ridiculous movie, but very good. All right. Real quick for the viewers out there. AJ Cruz, did you switch profiles during the show? Because at one point, your profile is totally different. If I can find it here. Yeah, it goes from AJ Cruz 1212 to AJ Cruz 75. Explain yourself, AJ Cruz.
We got our burner account. Or are you watching like another live podcast under a different thing? What are you doing?
Yeah. Go ahead. Type it out. Let us know what the deal is here, because I don't know if I could trust you.
Maybe we have two
profiles
AJ Cruzes. Maybe we have two AJ Cruzes.
All right. Well, we'll get the answer. Okay, 1212 is my original, 75 is my main because I got blocked on the other chat. Ooh.
Gotcha.
Story for another day then.
Yeah. Well, whatever. I think that gets us a couple of more clicks, right? That's what we're in this business for. Ultimately.
Hey, if we get 2 more clicks from the same guy, I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That's all we got time for today. We'll be back on Tuesday to react to the Week 6 games, and I'll even be honest about this. Week 6, not a great slate.
Yeah, this slate stinks.
There you go. Changing it from sucks to stink. On that note, Steven, say what you always say.
Yeah, it's just our opinion, man.